Hello everybody. Now I've got a bit of a different video for you today. I get asked a lot about how I plan my routes, and today you're going to plan a route with me. You're going to go through all the thought processes that go through my mind as I put one together. And the one we're going to plan is a Rushcliffe parish, which is Willoughby on the Wolds, which you can see here on the screen in the south of the Rushcliffe borough. Now, what I do first, before I plan anything, is I do two things. Firstly, I need to put into Google Maps here, Willoughby on the Wolds Civil Parish, so I can get the parish boundaries up so I can see what I'm working with. So let's just type that in. Excuse my horrible typing. There we go. It comes up after typing a couple of words. So click on that, and there you go. Voila, we have the parish boundaries in red. There you go. Now the next thing I do is I see this little man in the corner. I drag him across and see where all the public roads are. Because if you do this, this shows you these blue lines are all the public roads. And we can see there's one main road that goes across. This one on the right hand side is the A46. That forms part of the boundary. Then we've got most of the villages in this little rectangle. And then we've got two roads, one going up there and one going up there. That one goes to Widmerpool, that one goes to Wisel. Okay, so we've got the basic idea of what we're dealing with there. Okay, now it'll be a bit more complicated than that when we get into it, but that's sort of the main sort of crux of it. The next thing I do is then go to Wikipedia. And as you can see, I've already got the Wikipedia page open for Willoughby on the Wolds. Okay, now this gives us a little bit of information. It doesn't give us everything, but you know, we've got a bit of info here about where it is, how far away it is from certain places, a bit about the governance and stuff like that. This will all come into its own when I'm writing the script, but obviously there's going to be more than this because this is a very short article. Sometimes a place has got a massive amount of information about it, and sometimes it's like this, next to nothing. But Wikipedia is useful as a starting point, and at the bottom here you usually get some links which tell you some other bits. So here we've got something which will take us to the village website, and there's a brief history of the village there. I've already clicked on these so I know what they say, and one of these says that it's got something to do with the Romans, which makes sense because the A46, this road here, is part of the Foz Way. So there's definitely something Roman in this place. That's something to bear in mind. But we're planning the route here. We're not thinking about the script. We're thinking about the route I'm going to take when I'm actually there. So now we need a different map because I can't plan the route on Google Maps. It doesn't let me. There's no function to do that. So we need Footpath Map, which I've already got up. There we go. Let's let it zoom out. There we are. There is Willoughby on the Wolds on Footpath Map, and this is what I use to plan the route. Okay, now I need to copy this map into a paint file using the screen grab, and I've already got a paint file open here, so we'll copy and paste that in, and we're going to draw the route onto this map. Okay, so it's a complicated process already because I've got three things open, and I normally do this on two screens, but I can't record both screens at once using the screen recorder on the laptop, so I'm having to do it a bit of a difficult way at the moment, but you get the idea. Okay, so first of all, we need to determine where are we going to park. Sometimes it's easy to find a parking space and sometimes it's not. Now luckily, before I started making this video, I've already had a quick look around the village, and I already know where I will park in this one, and I'll show you where that's going to be. So if we look at this road here on the western side of civilization, you can't tell from this, but if I drop the little man on Google Maps somewhere there, I think it was, we'll get the street view. And if I just zoom this way, you can see there's a nice big parking space there. And I've already checked to see if this is a perfectly legal spot to park in, and it seems to be. There are no parking restrictions around. There's no double yellow lines or anything like that. You know, it seems legit, and it's a nice place to go because I want the route to end at this point as well as begin, because as you can see, there's a public right of way there, there's a stile, and that'll come into the route later on when we actually start to plan it. So we're going to park the car there. Now, I mark this on the map by using, let me just get the paint file open again. Like I said, I usually do this on 2 screens. I mark the parking space with a cross, and that is where we are beginning this route. Now, the next thing I do is I work from that cross, and what I basically do is go round the route as if I'm walking. So we can see it's mainly sort of a linear village, isn't it? But there's plenty of public rights of way. These red lines, pink lines, and blue lines, these are all public rights of way. Okay. Now, as we go through the route, you'll see that some of them actually don't exist, and there are ones that aren't even marked as well. But, you know, that's what we discover as we go on. So we're beginning there, and as we can see, there's nothing really to the north. All these grey areas are built-up areas, so that's the area we really need to be in. Not up here, because that's just going to be fields and farmland and stuff, other stuff that's not really of interest to us. So really, from this point, we need to be going south, don't we? So if we head south, down this road, right, that's the first bit of the route done, straight down here. Now, you can see this road carries on to this road at the bottom here. But I don't really want to be going down there, because as you can see, there's nothing really of interest. So really, we need to be going along this street instead. Before I make that decision, though, we go back to the map, because I just want to check that there's nothing on that little stretch between these 2 roads here that I'll be missing out on. So what we do is we put the little man down again. We'll send a man in. Okay, we'll zoom around, scroll around to the area we need, and let's have a look and see what's down there on that little stretch if we don't walk down it. There's a bus stop there, but that's okay. There's probably going to be another one of those somewhere else. Other than that, it's just a few nice houses, but nothing really of any interest before you hit the junction with the road down here. Okay, so it stands to reason then that instead of walking down here, we'll go to the right instead. Okay, so sorry, to the left, I should say, not right, to the left. So we'll go to the left then along what is Main Street. Now we come to this here, this blue line. Now that is a public right of way, and on Footpath Map, blue lines are byways. The red lines are footpaths, the pink lines are bridleways, and the blue lines are byways. All right, so is it worth heading down this byway? Let's find out. So let's go back to the map again, and let's find the spot in question. Now, sometimes you can tell where it is, sometimes you can't, and in this case you can definitely tell where it is. It's this here. This is the byway in question. Okay, so let's put the man at the end of this byway and have a quick look down it and see what this guy can tell us. So here we go. There is the byway. There is the right-of-way sign to tell you it's the byway. Okay, it's always worth checking that they exist, because as I said, sometimes these rights-of-way don't actually exist, even though they're marked on the map. It's nothing really of any great importance, is it? It's just a grass track, and there's nothing really worth capturing down there. So let's carry on down Main Street. Okay, so that brings us to this corner here. Now, this is an important junction, because as you can see, we've got a church up there, and on this corner there's a yellow blob, and yellow blobs are normally schools, and in this case it definitely is a school, because I've already checked it out. It is definitely a school. Okay, so if we head on down the map a bit further, you'll see there is the school right there. Now I can catch this school off this road. There's the church spire, by the way. Or I can catch the school a bit later in the route, potentially, from this street here, if I choose to walk down it. Okay, now in this case, having already looked at this village, I know that I shall probably be catching it from this road instead. Okay, sometimes it's not an easy decision to make, though, so you have to be aware that, you know, it's not necessarily as straightforward as it looks. Okay, so we're catching the school off of this road. So if we go back to the map, I'm just going to put a little hump just here so I know that there's a school there. Okay, sometimes with landmarks like that, I'll mark them with a cross like this with a circle around, just so I know there's something there that's not obvious on the map. All right, so let's continue past the school, and there's nothing on either side of the road for quite a while until we reach this junction here. Now this junction sort of loops back on itself back towards the church. Now it makes sense at this point to not go up there because the car's parked over here, right? So it makes sense to go straight on. And we don't have to go far to the next junction. It's here, right? Now at this point, we've got a choice. We can either go straight on down here, or we can turn right, I should say, all right? Now, I'm going to be turning right here, and I'll show you why. For this, we need to have a look at this map again. This is the junction in question, and this is the road, the right turn here. As you can see, it's called Chapel Lane, right? Now, that is a big clue, because that is potentially a street that's got something on it that we can talk about, i.e. a chapel. Now, sometimes with chapels, as you know, they don't exist anymore. Sometimes they've been pulled down, they've been turned into something else. So we have to check it out first. So we'll send the man in once again, and we'll have a look and see if we can find said chapel. So here's the junction. All right, this is Chapel Lane here. Road sign confirms it. So let's head down here and have a look, see if we can find this chapel. So it's neither of these two buildings. They're definitely not chapels, but this one is worth capturing because, as you can see by this nameplate, it's the old bakehouse. So already I'm thinking it's probably worth turning down Chapel Lane anyway, just for that. Let's continue down it. Still no sign of a chapel or anything that might be obvious. I mean, it could be this building here. We don't know. There's a high chance it could be. Sometimes they do look like that. We don't know. Otherwise, we've got a few houses. Maybe it could have been one of these. It could be hiding away behind some of these trees. We don't know. And it turns into this track at this point. We still haven't definitely found it, but it's still worth having a look all the way down. But the chances of finding it now are very slim. There we go. There's nothing there, is there? But even so, I think it's still worth turning down there, because even if we can't find it, in the video, I may opt, of course, to talk about it, even though it may have been demolished. Okay? So, instead of going straight on, we'll take that right turn. Now, one thing that always crosses my mind at that point when I'm making a decision like that is, if I'm turning right there, am I missing anything on this little stretch here? And of course, the way to do that is to send the man in once again and have a look. So this is the stretch in question. Let's have a quick look and see if there's anything on there that's worth talking about. And once again, there's some nice houses, another bus stop, but frankly, nothing much. So we're not missing out on anything there if we take that turn and opt to go away from Main Street. Okay, so that's the route so far. Now we know this blue line, this is a byway, and we've already seen that there's nothing really down there. So by default, the easiest thing to do is turn left at this point and head along this footpath here to this road. All right, now let's have a look and see what our next landmark is. So that path there has brought us to this point. And you can see just to the south of that, we've got a village hall. Okay, let's have a look at the village hall. I always do this just to make sure that it is still a village hall, because sometimes they are marked on the map and they're not anymore. In this case, it definitely is. There we are. There we have the village hall. So let's go south along this road to the village hall, which is about there. Now beyond that, it becomes a little less depopulated, a little less populated, should I say, and there's nothing really here, but there's plenty of footpaths here. Now, the interesting thing about Footpath Map is these lines, as I said, these are all rights of way, but sometimes they don't follow the exact route they are in reality, and this is a good example. I'll show you what I mean by that. So if we head off to Footpath Map, we can zoom into it and we can see that the red line sort of goes in a diagonal fashion down towards Back Lane, all right? But it doesn't actually follow that route. What you're actually following is this dotted line here, right? I don't know why Footpath Map does this, but sometimes It does. It's the dotted lines you need to follow, not the solid red lines. These sometimes don't exist, okay? I fell foul of that a couple of times. So if we're following the dotted line, we're going this way to this junction here, okay? So let's head back to our paint file, and here we go. And there's the junction where they all converge. Now at this point, we're sort of thinking now, we need to be heading sort of back towards the car now, because we're sort of halfway round and there's not much left at this end of the village, is there? Now, ideally, what I would like to do here is to go across to this road, right? And you can see there is a dotted red line there. There is a path there. And that, I know, is a bowls club, okay? Definitely worth catching. However, there's no right of way between this point and this point, right? Which means I've got to go north. Having said that, there could be a way through there, because I've already looked at this. I'll show you what I mean. So the point in question, what we're at, is here, okay? And you can see the path there. You can see on the overhead map of Google Maps there, image there, you can see there's a fence, right? And that usually indicates there's a path close to that fence, all right? And we know there is anyway because we've already walked it. But you can see it continues here towards the bowls club. So there could be an extension of that path there that somehow runs around the bowls club and comes out on this road here. But according to this map, it doesn't exist. But it may. They're sometimes not marked. All right. So what I do in this case, knowing that there could potentially be a way across there, is we make two routes, okay? So we do the legal way first, the way we know we can go, which is up this path here, which will take us back to the main road. If there is a way across here, then the done thing is to follow this instead, right? But it doesn't matter if it's not there, because I can catch the bowls club from this point here. But ideally, I want to make this as circular as possible and catch as much as possible. So this is the way I would like to go. If it's not possible, then we'll go this way. Okay, so we make two routes at this point. Okay. Now, I know there's not much in this point, this part of the village, because I've already checked. There's a few nice houses and whatnot. I've already sent the man in to have a look. But there's nothing really of any great note. This wood is important, but if I need to talk about that in the episode, there's no reason why that can't just be in pictorial form, okay? It's sort of out of the way. So whichever way we go, we've ended up at this point, and we can continue back along the main street, back to this junction here. And at this point, we can catch that bus stop I was talking about, can't we? Because, you know, we've dealt with everything to the south and everything to the west. We're now sort of heading this way, aren't we? And you can see the obvious thing is this park being the next thing on our route. You can see there's not much left. You know, we basically with the car over here and the park here, it sort of stands to reason that we will be following sort of a line like this, won't we? Okay. Now, parks are interesting because they do have official entrances. And in this case, the official entrance is there where I've just put that green dot. Sometimes they do have unofficial entrances. There tends to be like a gap in a hedge or something like that, which are very helpful. They're very helpful things. Don't always exist, though. And in this case, I know it doesn't exist because, again, I've already sent the man in to have a look. Okay. So let's go back to our map. And you can see there is the park and there's the entrance. So we're just going to go straight up here to the entrance of the park. It's the done thing to do anyway, because I know, having sent the man in, I'll just show you, that there is a village sign near the entrance. All right. And it's always worth passing one of these because obviously this forms the beginning of the episode. You always see a village sign right at the beginning of the episode. So if I go up here, I'm guaranteed to catch one of those for this village. All right. So up we go to the park. And then, as you can see, there's a dotted red line. There's a footpath that goes all the way through it. So that means we can just go straight down here to this point. Now, at this point, it should be very obvious how we get back to the start. Okay, it's a right turn along this path here to Church Lane. Now, I'll just bring the map up again so you can see where we are. So we've come down through the park and we've turned right and we are there. Okay, I'll just put the man down so you can see where we are. We're here. the path comes out there. Okay, you can't see it, but it does. It comes out there and it continues over there. We'll just check this little bit of Church Lane just to see if there's anything on here of note. And again, it's just a couple of houses, very nice ones, of course, but you know, we're not really missing anything by turning left here, are we? So we really need to be going down there, don't we? All right. And it seems to be the best option anyway, because we know there's a church up there. Yeah. It's all about the landmarks. If you know where the landmarks are, it's half the battle. Okay. So simple enough. We just follow this up to the church. And as you can see, the right of way turns right up to the church, into the churchyard, passes the church. Always these little black crosses on Footpath Map, and then it turns into a public right of way which crosses a few fields and this little stream, and before you know it, we are back to the beginning. And that is the route I will follow when I go to this place and put it on the map for everybody. Now, before I leave the route behind, we're not quite done, because I need to see if there's anything I need to catch in the car, apart from the drive-in, obviously. Now, the drive-in is something I plan when I actually get there. I don't do that beforehand because, you know, this route, as good as it looks, it might change when I get there. Sometimes it does. I don't necessarily have to follow it the way I've planned it. Things happen. There could be road closures. There could be anything could happen that could change the route. So I don't plan the drive-in until I actually get there. But in this case, it looks fairly simple, doesn't it? I'll just use a different colour so you can see. It looks as though I shall be going from this point here along the main street down here to there, and that would be the drive-in, which lasts 1 minute and 20 seconds. And actually, that's quite helpful, because this part here, we're not necessarily going to be covering that on the walk because of this issue. So the drive-in would catch that, wouldn't it? So that'd be helpful if that's, you know, the way things go. But we don't know until we get there. So let's just return to the map and come out of Street View. Are there any other bits worth catching within the boundaries you can see on your screen here? Well, there's all this farmland to the north up here. And to be fair, it looks as though there's nothing really of note up there. All right, there's a few farms, a few isolated buildings and stuff like that. There could be something there. We don't know. But of course, we do know from the very beginning that this is a settlement that's got something to do with the Romans, don't we? Because we learnt that from the Wikipedia article and from the links at the bottom. Now, having read one of those articles that it links you to, this here, the A46, was the Roman road, Foss Way. Okay, so if there's going to be any Roman activity, it's going to have been somewhere here, or potentially over here, down here, potentially might not have been in the village itself. So it's always worth sort of knowing if there are any earthworks or anything like that I can catch. In this case, there aren't, because I've already checked Historic England. There's nothing really there of any note. So we don't really need to be catching anything in the car driving wise. So all that's left to do really is to work out how we get to our next one. Now, next in the series from Willoughby on the Wolds will be Widmerpool, which is up here, next village up. Okay, and as you can see, there's a road that links both of them together. So I'll be entering that village from the south. Okay, and all I do is I mark that on the map with a red line, a different colour, and like that. And I write where I'm going, in this case Widmerpool, so I'll just put Wid. Okay, if there are any driving shots I need to do, other than actually going to the next place, say for example there was something down here on this road, then I would put a line like this along the bit that I need to drive on, and an arrow showing which way. All right, okay, and that's basically it. That's basically what I do to plan my routes. And hopefully now you've got a bit more of an understanding of how I go about it. It's a bit more complicated than what I've shown you, because this is obviously quite an easy village to plan for. There are some very difficult ones that I've done. Sometimes they're very easy, sometimes they're very complicated. It really just depends on where you are. Like I said, this one's pretty simple, but if we just go back to the map a second, this particular run that I'll be doing down here will end in Keyworth. So we've got Willoughby here, Widmerpool, there's Stanton on the Wolds, which is there, and the end of the run is Keyworth, which you can see is a lot bigger. So the route for this one will be, you know, twice as hard to plan, you know, because there'll be lots of decisions to make. You know, which way am I going? What am I catching? Where are all the landmarks? That kind of stuff. Okay. But that's, in essence, it. So hopefully I've answered a few questions there as to how I go about planning my routes. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Willoughby on the Wolds very soon.